Hello, this is Lee Bocacci. On January 25th, our own Robert Steere attended a special panel hosted by Professor Mark Bruin, chair of the TU Communications Department. The panel, News for a New World, sought to understand how recent changes in technology have affected the news media.
Dr. Bruin reached out to 6 Tulsa area journalists for their insights on the subject. Each panelist spoke about how their jobs have changed based on the rise of social media, cell phones, and instantaneous live footage. Michael Mason, founding editor for This Land Press, spoke first, saying, "Cell phones have created more citizen journalists. This allows people to be witnesses, via camera, anywhere they are." Mason emphasized that this was a good thing. Being able to go live anywhere allows for news to be reported on quickly.
I mean, that one tool, is so efficient. Not just for everybody, but for journalists. The problem is that it's also like a little, condenser of our neuroses in the sense that, if you're a journalist, you're always on the job.
However, there is a downside to this as well. Randy Kreibel, longstanding reporter for the Tulsa World, explained, "The web created thousands of printing presses." He went on to say that the internet has allowed people to consume niche markets of news, especially tailored to them. The problem, agreed the whole panel, was that the niche news obscures the complexity of the issues.
FM radio created niche broadcasting. Cable television created cable news. We went from being a mass media society to being a fragmented niche media society. And I think newspapers and to some extent traditional broadcasting has struggled ever since to cope with that.
Another problematic change emphasized at the panel was, to quote KTUL anchor Charles Ely, whether or not people consume the news at all. It appears that reeling in people to consume the news reliably has proven difficult to most news outlets. The problem has sparked a sudden rise in fake news websites, capitalizing on catchy and inflammatory headlines to reel people in, regardless of the facts. On the topic of online news, Ziva Brandstetter, co-founder and writer for the online news outlet The Frontier, stated, "I am on my own platform. Content is king as long as you can still adhere to traditional journalism standards." Ziva stressed that journalistic integrity is key, no matter what the platform, but especially on the internet.
Your own platform today. You can be a journalist and sort of open up put your own shingle out, and if its content is king. If
right.
The content is good and reliable and authentic and adheres to those old journalism standards that have never changed, then you too can be in the publishing business.
Inevitably, the topic of the recent election came up. Dr. Bruin asked the panelists, "What do you think was different about the news in the past election?" Michael Mason answered first, stating, "The hatred of the people towards journalism." Others expanded on this sentiment and discussed President Trump's anti-media rhetoric, as well as the media's inability to cover him effectively. At the conclusion of the panel, I asked several students what they thought about the conversation.
It was great. I mean, I feel like it's a really big topic, especially with the election just happening and all the news media. They had a lot of good insight on how citizens can be better about their responsibility to news media, and they had a lot of good insight just through their jobs as well.
So I think what interested me the most was when they talked about how you have to choose what you put in a story, and what you choose really does portray the story as a whole, even if you are taking out certain parts. And you have to decide what you take out, and what you take out can make it biased or not biased. And how you just need to watch for that when you read a story or when you watch a story.
For an in-depth interview with Dr. Bruin about how the news media has changed over the past 10 years and continues to change, head over to our website, tulsa.show, for an in-depth interview conducted by our own Alex Isaac.
Thanks for watching this edition of TU TV News. I'm Lee Bocacci. Be sure to check out our website, tulsa.show, for TU TV segments, interviews, cast bios, and more. Thank you very much.